So we're back in here again. It's a week later. I pulled that needle and seat out. I'll probably try to edit the previous parts of the video down, so I don't know how much of that I'll show. I basically did the same process over again, or I'm doing it over again. Pulled the needle and seat out, or pulled the needle out, the float. Float was in good shape. It's got a rubber, it's a plastic needle with a rubber tip. The rubber felt, it's not a rubber coated tip, it's an actual rubber tip. The rubber felt pretty soft, and so I kind of think that's what the issue is. I cleaned it up, everything looked good, the seat looked good, got up in there and looked at it. From what I could tell, it looked good, looked clean, and it's still flooding out when it's idling. So I think what we're going to do is go ahead and I ordered a kit, a full carburetor kit, and we're going to go ahead and just replace the needle. This thing runs great except for flooding out when it's idling. And so let's take this back off. We'll replace the needle, and we'll replace the fuel bowl gasket. And the bowl is hard to get off this thing, but it'd be easier if we took the carburetor off. It'd be easier to get the bowl off, but the carburetor is not the easiest to get off on this thing. There's just not a lot of room to work. It's not hard by any means, but like I said, it runs great other than flooding out when it's idling. And there's no need to fully rebuild the carburetor. Drip for a minute. See if I can. Problem is the float drops. When the float drops, it's not allowing the bowl to come off. There. I just use the screwdriver to hold up on the little tab on the float to keep it up. Looks like we got a little bit of water in the fuel. I don't know if you can see that. Oh. Well, there was just a little bit of water in there. We're going to have to look down in the tank and see if maybe it got some bad gas, but it is flooding out. That was not much water. It probably would have choked that down and ran on it, but we just need to make sure. So let's, the pin on this thing is mushroomed on one end, so it only comes out the other way. So we need to push this over. Oop. And it shot out. Well, I'm sure I'll find it somewhere. If not, our kit came with a new one. Oh, found it. It was right here on the ground. So we're going to throw that in the bowl. Let's pull the float out. Like I said, I did check the float. It was in good shape. See, our needle, it's plastic. It's a plastic needle. And if you look at it, the end, to me, it's a little bit soft. It's weird. It's kind of soft. I don't know. And it's got a ridge around it where it's been seating. So I think that's probably the issue. The fuel pump's pushing past, able to push past it just a little bit, where it's just a little bit leaking out or a little bit seeping through, and with it idling it's not consuming enough fuel, and it eventually floods over the carburetor. And it is flooding it over. When it eventually flooded out and died, and when it did, the first time I had the carburetor part, I guess that bowl gasket is not the greatest, and after it flooded out and died, it was dripping fuel around the bowl, and this thing was sitting perfectly level. It should not have been overflowing out of the bowl. You know, if you shook it or something, that's understandable, but it was sitting there dripping out. And it seems like what this thing does is once it seems like it will siphon fuel out of the tank. Sometimes it's not doing it now, but the last time I had this thing off, it dripped gas constantly from the carburetor. So this new one, that tip feels much firmer. So we're not gonna, I've already sprayed carburetor cleaner up through the carb and all that kind of stuff. So we're in good shape. What I am gonna do is compare the old needle to the new needle. Make sure they're identical. Of course, one's aluminum and one's plastic, but we just need to make sure they're the same diameter and the same length, and they are. Alright, I'm gonna go get some wheel bearing grease. I'm tired of this thing falling out. Well, I got something even better than wheel bearing grease. It's transmission assembly goop. Put some of that on this O-ring, or this, I guess it's technically it's a square shouldered O-ring. The lip seal, it's not a lip seal, it's a square seal? Square? It's just a seal. It's just a gasket, I guess. So some of the green ultra thick assembly goop stuff is handy for stuff like this. It looks like it's trying to roll again, so before it does, let's see if we can stretch. And the problem is, because it needs to stretch to go in, it does not like going in. It does not stay in. I can't reach it, and it's in right there, but did it go in straight? Alright, so let's get y'all close. Alright. Is it twisted? No, I don't think it is now. Oh, looks like we got it now. So I'm gonna put y'all back on the tripod and we'll get this thing back together. Alright. Let's see if we can get this thing back together. So I'm gonna do a little, make this job a little easier. I'm gonna start this pin. And this float is going to come in like this to get around that, and then go up in there. That made that job a lot easier. And then this needs to turn. I'm going to roll this pin just a little bit. I don't think it'll. There. There we go. Good. And this was facing about like that. We are not going to let this thing drop down. I'm going to keep holding it up until I get this nut tightened up on there. Make sure that seal doesn't pop back out. And maybe it was more like that. Actually, let's just turn it. There. Nice view of my glove y'all got. Alright, that's kind of tightened down, or it's thumb tight, it's holding pressure. I'm gonna think of how I want this thing. I'll put it like that because then I can easily get in here to drain it if I need to. And take this. Alright, so that is good. Let's crank it up and see how it does. So let's start this thing up and see how it does. fixed. I'm gonna let it warm up a little bit. We'll see how it's running. If I need to, I'll adjust the carburetor, but I don't think I'll need to. You can already see it's responding now. You know, now it's starting to warm up. It's not stumbling like it was. I guess one last thing we'll do, I'll turn on the light. We'll look down in the tank and make sure there's not a bunch of water in it. This thing gets used a lot, so it shouldn't have bad gas or, you know, gas that's turned to water in it. You know, it doesn't sit. Let me turn the light on. I'm gonna turn it off. You can't see. I can't tell. I mean, it looks okay. I can't tell well enough to tell if it's got water in there or not. I don't see any cloudy, you know, any. What it looked like is kind of like oil and water. Have you ever have put like cooking oil in some water? It looked like a little glob, not a glob, but a bubble or a. It's something that looks different than the liquid that's in it, and it'll be like in a little bubble looking form, or if there's a lot in it, it'll just be down at the bottom. But to me, that looks good. We've got looks like some stuff down in the tank, but I don't see any water in it, so I think we're okay. Almost forgot, do have the shroud to put back on, but I'm actually going to go change the oil on this thing. And so I'm not going to video putting that back on. I videoed taking it off, so it goes on back to the same way it came off. So put that back on, then I'll be done. But like I said, I'm going to go change the oil. So I'll video that. Y'all can watch me change the oil, and of course that'll be in a separate video. So thanks for watching. Leave a comment down below, hit the like button, and subscribe for more.